Ladies and gentlemen, a person that's become actually a good person that I talk to a lot, and a friend of mine, and somebody that we get to talk music a lot, and someone that I bet you didn't know was like a battle DJ champion, and his brother's in a famous group, and now he's a big festival DJ and
owns a label.
His name is A-Trak, ladies and gentlemen.
DJ A-Trak.
A-Trak.
Can I clap too?
Yeah, clap for yourself.
I'm clapping.
Yo,
Clap for him.
So let's get right into it. I saw you backstage at Wayne and Drake.
Yes.
And the first time, I didn't know this, but I learned this today. The first time I had ever heard of you was Kanye West.
Right.
And you were doing some things with Kanye and things like that. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't know you was like a scratch DJ champ.
Yes, sir.
That's like how you started.
You're a DMC champion, right?
DMC. Actually, I won 5 world championships.
Just
And
5.
And you were really young, like
Yeah.
13?
Yeah, I won when I was 15, basically 15, 16, 17. And when I was 15, I looked about 11. So that added to the hype.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, that's how I
what year
came
was
up.
your first championship?
1997.
97.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Wow.
Woo! Now
I came up basically like right after the generation of Rock Raider.
This is Ebro's generation.
See,
The generation you watched.
I stopped paying attention after
Yeah.
Invisible
Executioners.
Scratch Pickles and Rock
Scratch-
Raider and all that.
I was part of the I was like the Scratch Pickles honorary member after like in the next sort of generation.
Me and Mixmaster Mike used to do a radio show together in
Really?
94, 95.
That's
yeah,
so dope.
Northern
That's
California. Yeah.
That's dope. That's the homies. So those guys are all my big brothers too. Yeah.
So talk about the level, because here's the thing. I recognized after DJing for because we all wanted to be battle guys at first. Like we saw Juice, we dreamed of battling,
exactly.
right? And we're about the same age. And I got my turntables and realized quickly that I was not willing to practice enough to get to that level. Talk about the amount of time that you put in. Literally, how many hours a day would you work on?
I would come
DJing?
home straight from school and practice for like 3-4 hours, and then have dinner, do my homework, go to sleep, start again the next day. Every day.
So 3 or 4 hours a day, every day.
Yeah, at least.
So you were in
every day,
Right.
Literally every
7
day.
days a week.
Yeah.
Right.
But I guess what I want to say is like Mike. I remember Mike and Cuba. They always used to be like, "This is an instrument.
Yes.
Like, yes, it plays music, but we manipulate it like somebody would manipulate a bass guitar, or somebody would manipulate a trombone or a cello, or that was like the thing for them. And I would watch them, and I guess your family's musical, like your brothers and what's the group? Chromeo.
Yeah.
So he plays an instrument and sings and is very talented. But was this your instrument? Was this
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what got me into DJing completely. Basically, my brother was playing the guitar, before I got into music. He's a little older. And literally, I wanted to find my instrument. I tried the piano, and I was kind of average at it. And then the day that I tried scratching, I found my thing. I didn't care even about mixing records for like another 3-4 years. I didn't care about playing a party set until I was like, an adult, I think.
But were you like self-taught to learn all those, what is it, orbitals and crabs and all that
Orbit's
stuff?
good. Yeah, flares, all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I was, a teenager in my Canadian household, listening to, records of Qbert and Jazzy Jeff.
So you
and
would
those
hear the
guys.
scratch and then
Yeah.
you just try to
and
duplicate
decode
it.
it, basically. Yeah, try to figure it out. I taught myself for sure.
Who, in your opinion, if you're forced, gun to your head, the greatest DJ of all time?
Jazzy Jeff.
I was hoping he said
It's the
that.
same answer I would
A lot of
give.
people don't know that though.
Well, a lot of people are idiots.
True indeed.
But yeah, no, Jazzy Jeff is the one. I mean, if you have to pick the one. It's funny, A-Trak came up yesterday. We did a Juan Epstein, which you could subscribe to on iTunes, the Insights podcast. And we're going to have A-Trak soon, but we did one yesterday with Clark Kent. And we were talking about the difference between battle DJs and party DJs. And I said when you find people who are the best DJs in the world, it's the ones who love the music and are battle DJs. Guys like this, who are literally the most precise DJs you could get, but are musical as well. Right. That's why when you arrive in Vegas right now, the first thing you see is 100-foot, billboard of A-Trak's big face, probably collecting somewhere in the range of 6 figures to go show up somewhere and DJ for a couple hours.
I do have a big face.
Yeah, so I first heard about you, Kanye West. You were doing
tour DJ.
Yeah, you were his tour DJ, but you also started working some production with him too, right?
Yeah, I mean the thing with Ye is like when you're in the circle, there's many things that you get an opportunity to work on.
But how did you meet him?
Super randomly in London. Like literally, I was in London for a gig that my own DJing, and Kanye was in London for like a Rockefeller press conference. I don't know if you remember when Rockefeller's like starting their UK
what was the group? Syph used to love this one group.
SAS?
SAS.
Was it? SAS?
the UK Dipset or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And John Legend was just like Kanye's piano guy, basically. He hadn't put out his own records yet, and through whatever the happenstance, John Legend and I got booked to perform an in-store at the same record shop. And Kanye just walked in because John was playing, and he saw me, and I was like doing a routine with the Jay-Z record, and then with Kanye's own beat for Just to Get By. I had this thing where I was taking the Nina Simone sample and like re-looping it and kind of recreating the beat, and he just flipped out. And he College Dropout had just came out, but he hadn't done his own tour yet, and he pretty much hired me on the spot, and I toured with him for 4 years and did scratches on a bunch of records, Gold Digger, on Common's B album, Shy City and Go, and Stronger, which was, I played Daft Punk to Kanye, so that was a record I was involved with, and I did some scratches at the end of the song. And even just like
it was just a little record.
Just did a few things. A little here, a little there.
But even just in general, like those were really like formative years for both Ye and myself. Even though I had like close to 10 years of history of DJing before that, it was more battling and just playing hip hop clubs. And during my stint with Kanye is when I started discovering electronic music as well, and he would come to my shows and be like, what's this stuff? And I'll play him all these records. He would sample them later, and from that even to just like both of us really like expanding our minds into everything that goes into branding, artwork. We would just really share a lot of resources, and he was a close ally, still is. Yeah.
So you got there, you touched a little bit, scratched the surface of like why I got excited for you to come by, because it's like I love electronic music and I love what it represents, but to me it's all hip hop to me, right? Because those computers that were used in the late 70s or early 80s that made a lot of great music, and Rosenberg and them always make fun of me because I'll bring up like Mantronics and Soul Sonic Force.
I love Mantronics.
Yeah, like
no, we just make fun of him for being old. The music.
But I'm always like, yo, what does it take for the generation that is now to understand that all of this stuff was hip hop, right?
Yeah.
And so now, and you have your event, what is it? It's
Day Off.
The day
Fool's
off.
Gold Day Off.
And
Fool's
you
Gold
have
Day Off.
French,
It's Monday. This coming
it's Monday.
Monday.
Yeah. You have French Montana.
Yeah.
And Danny Brown are the headliners.
Yes.
But on there you have also other people that contribute, whether it's electronic music or hip hop. So you've kind of
and A-Rap Music, who I feel is like myself bridging that gap.
Yes. He was up here and did a demo for us on the program before.
And in case you're wondering, A-Rap Music, The Locks, Young Gleesh, World's Fair, Nick Catchdubs, and BIC, Black Dave,
DJ
Grant Marshall.
Yeah, Grant Marshall.
Plus special guests. It goes down this Monday, which is Labor Day, 50 Kent Avenue in Brooklyn. That's outside. $15 for tickets at fgdayoff.com.
That's right in Williamsburg. So make sure you go check it.
And just to reiterate something that you just said quickly, it's a $15 ticket, and that's really important to me. And also special guests with a little maple leaf Canadian flag. I think I can say I'll be there. Like, you read between the lines. This is my event. But yeah, I know you want to touch into the sort of bridging of the cultures, and I want to talk about that too. But really, just to make a point, it's a $15 show. That's a big part of what Fool's Gold is about, and it's in Brooklyn, which is like our home base. Like we're Fool's Gold doesn't have it's not your typical label. We don't have like a Midtown office or whatever. We have a shop in Williamsburg where people hang out. We have art shows there. We do shows that are either free or $15. This is a $15 ticket for a show that's probably worth at least 60 if you want something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I did 40 for my birthday, which had like 4 acts. This is easily a $50 to $60, $75 ticket.
It's important to us to gift, and New York is just such a big inspiration for us. Like this is our way of contributing to the city.
Because you can't make that much dough on this event.
We're not making.
They're not making any money. Hopefully they pay their bills.
Yeah,
you try to cover costs.
Because we make dough otherwise. This event is just it's something. It's part of the culture for us.
And it's all day. What time does it start?
3. It's from 3 to 10.
3 to 10.
Yeah.
Look, if you're into music, like many of you claim to be, I suggest you go out to this event, because you will experience what I call hip hop, what other people call EDM, whatever you call it, but where the drums and the DJ and the MC and the art and the fashion and all of those things come together. Right?
Exactly. Well said. It's true. It's and to me, it's like at this point in time in 2014, I don't even think we should be separating the genres like that anymore.
Right.
You know, and I think you understand that it's sort of come full circle. Obviously, like if you go back to the Bambaataa days, you know, Soul Sonic Force were making electro beats, and it was hip hop. And to me, the way that we're all mixing these genres together, and it's going back to the same idea of like looking for the break, right? It's not doesn't have to be within the confines of certain sounds or whatever. If it makes people dance, it's dope and it's got the energy. And a big part of the vision for these Fool's Gold events is to bring the energy of an electronic or EDM kind of festival to a venue where there's also rappers
Hip-hop and
performing.
rap,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like you're watching French Montana, but it's got the energy of an EDM festival.
And we,
And which are the festivals where I play every weekend. Like I jump back and forth between those worlds.
Right. Like a lot of people don't know that the reason I put this up here behind you guys is J. Cole, Mr. Nice Watch, is because that beat, the beat of that record was actually a like a dubstep type record, right?
Yeah.
And that beat with Hove on it before he made you know, Niggas in Paris, which people took and chopped, was also kind of like dubstepish in its sonic and electronic in its sonic, right? So
Or I can't stop, obviously.
or I Can't Stop, which is on that album as well. But how do you think what do you think is the holdup? Because now you have what A$AP Rocky did a record with Skrillex, and you have Steve Aoki putting out some records with Waka Flocka and Kid Ink now, and it's starting to get there where rappers aren't embarrassed to jump on some of these more how do I say electronic sounding records. What do you think the holdup is? I mean,
think
Kanye's been there, you've been there, but what's the
exactly
holdup?
like, you know, Kanye had Daft Punk producing on his last album, and people didn't really raise eyebrows. I think there's certain people that are able to, you know, to jump those lines a little bit more effortlessly than others. But I think at the same time, the general audience's ears are just getting trained, and it's opening up, you know, and really not for nothing. Like Pitbull's been on dance records for years too.
Yeah,
like,
talk about it.
you know, he deserves props for that because he's been adventurous too. And one of the first people that really, you know, had big records in the last couple of years in North America that bridged those gaps too is David Guetta. You know, like it's obviously cool and sort of like the artistic thing to do to give props to the Kanyes and even the Swizz Beats and all these guys that use electronic sounds. People don't necessarily want to, you know, give props to like the bigger commercial guys, but Guetta had a lot of these rappers and R&B singers on his songs. And by the way, he started as a hip hop DJ when, you know, in like 1992 he was putting out rap records in France. Like maybe part of it's an education process. Even for me, part of this was a surprise around like 2006 when I was getting into electronic music, and I thought I wanted to meet some of the European DJs and producers who were making these crazy techno beats, and I thought that there would be like a bit of a leap to communicate. And I went out there, and all those dudes were like, yo, we used to scratch when we were 15 too. Like we came up on Public Enemy too. Like it all stems from hip hop, and just, you know, certain dudes took it their own way. But as far as the current time, you know, I think the Rocky and Skrillex record did a lot. And by the way, you know, Rocky's been at every Day Off event every year. Yeah. And we had Juicy J perform at Fool's Gold Day Off 4 years ago, right when he was first doing those mixtapes with Lex Luger, when he didn't even think he had fans in New York. It was actually his first New York show. As much as he's a veteran, Juicy J, as much as he's a veteran, he'd never done a Juicy J performance in New York. And I literally called him up because I knew him from the Kanye stuff. I was like, yo, I want to book you in New York. He's like, do people know my records in New York? And now obviously Juicy J is, you know, with Katy Perry and all this.
Well, that's another thing.
And when he came, Rocky came out and performed with him. Like, that's a lot of what we do, is just we connect those dots. You know, the same way that I'm trying to connect the dots from the heritage of the Rock Raider history all the way to what Skrillex is doing, and from electronic music festivals to hip hop festivals. You know, I know that those connections make sense because I make them make sense in my set. When I play those records back to back, they work. So I know it works. You know, like, in a practical way, I know it works because I play the records. And I'm, you know, for some of the people in you know, the audience at large, it might not seem obvious. And what we do with Fool's Gold is we just put it on that platter in front of them, like, look, it does work. And they're like, oh yeah, it works.
Dope.
And he taps into something that I'd like to say for A-Trak, is that Fool's Gold and him in particular, and Catch Dubs, all you guys really are so cutting edge on what becomes the next thing in this culture. Like, I don't even know of anyone else. Like, by the time they end up putting me onto something, the thing is already moving. Like everything's always.
And you know me, I'm super late. I'm waiting for y'all to tell me I'm super late.
It starts with these guys. You know, it's been like that like for a long time. They're like, you know, A-Trak was one of the white guys in hip hop that I just gave up. I was like, you know, I know I'm gonna be better than most. Not
Never
this one.
him.
Not this one. I'm not. Like I just am happy to have a guy who's in the culture, who's so big, who loves hip hop. Like this guy he would text and tweet during the morning show.
Yep.
He
Yeah.
pays attention to the culture. He's
But
deeply
we're fans,
involved.
like we're just students of the game, and you are too, and like it's just cool to meet kindred spirits. Like, you know, I grew up reading, you know, liner notes like everybody else. I grew up just, you know, memorizing who's the mix engineer on every Gangstar record and Mobb Deep and all that stuff, you know? Like that's what we're fans of. Like when I went in with Cam, you know, I had a specific vision to evoke the same feeling that I had, you know, when Cam made his classic run, you know? Like it's an educated approach, I think. You know, not saying this in a pompous way, but really on the contrary, on a very like humble way. Like I consider myself lucky to get to do what I do. So like every opportunity, I can't misstep. It's like I've worked 15 years to get to where I am.
Well, and a lot of people see Cam now back on the cover of magazines and
Wearing capes.
wearing capes and clothing lines with, you know, at the agenda and the capsules and this and
Yeah.
doing that whole thing because he and Jim and Jewel's fathered a style, a look, a sound
Completely.
that, you know, it was artistic and it was forward thinking at the time, and now it's classic in a way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I think it's important to say, like, you know, when I work with someone like Cam, or when I book the locks that day off, for example, like if I work with somebody who's maybe mainly known for something that was 10 years ago, it's still not a throwback thing to me. To me, it's super relevant because in today's reality with Tumblr, for example, kids are posting pictures of Cam every day. Kids are posting pictures of J-Lo every day, and you know, the Locks and Puff and Mace doing the original Harlem Shake dance and all that stuff. Like all that stuff is part of today's culture because in the Instagram and Tumblr kind of culture, everything is referential and, you know, the images are really strong. And so with Cam, you know, I really wanted to, you know, bridge that gap from, on one hand, the sort of like happy feeling of hearing Cam and Jewels on a Just Blaze beat because we sort of missed that, but like at the same time making it very current. It's not a throwback thing.
You
Very
know,
dope.
and while he was talking, it made me think something. And I don't want to use A-Trak for our own political arguments that you and I tend to have with other people or with the culture at large. But while certain people talk about the involvement of people of different backgrounds in hip hop and use negative words.
where they call white guys culture vultures.
Yeah, I wonder if those people ever think about the people who literally not only spend their life studying the culture, but dedicate their life to contributing to make it better and just literally add in any way they can. Do they ever take time to give?
Yeah, but that's the easy way for them to, or I mean, excuse me, that's the hard way for them to acknowledge and respect people who love music or love art or are from wherever you're from on earth, that you just love something that was created, right? Because I believe that the reason hip hop is still relevant today is because the culture in itself pulled from everywhere. It just so happened that in 1979, 1980, those formidable electronic years that actually propelled hip hop forward, kids who couldn't afford instruments that lived in the South Bronx could go get themselves a drum machine, right? But they couldn't go get classes to play a bass guitar, but they wanted to express themselves musically. So all of these things came together, and they were listening to top 40 music, and I'm sure they like country music, and I'm sure they like jazz music, and I'm sure they like blues. But they went and recreated something out of all of those elements that we call today, and we call it hip hop. And they told their stories and their experience around it, and now it's blossoming, it's a worldwide thing. But because it can pull from all different cultural backgrounds, which is why it's great, is also the same reason that some people hold on to it. And it's like, no, it's not for you. And no, this isn't hip hop. And no, this isn't hip hop. When really, guess what? It's all hip hop because that's what made it
And
great.
hip hop was so successful and so amazing that it went out and drew people like A-Trak in Montreal and myself in Maryland and pulls you into it. Whereas if hip hop had never existed, you would have still ended up in music somewhere. It just would have been something else. You know what I'm saying? And now you get all these amazing music minds who, instead of getting into rock or getting into folk or country, they ended up loving and contributing to this.
But they're
culture.
also into that.
They may also be into that also.
That's the great thing about hip hop. You could be into whatever you want.
But nothing. But would you say, A-Trak, that nothing captivated you? What do you think it was about hip hop in particular that captivated you so much?
I mean, the beats. First
The
of all.
drums, right?
Yeah, just listening to Premier beats, man. Or I mean, the thing is, when I was younger, like 11 or 12 or whatever, I was listening to more rock, like classic rock, or even like the Chili Peppers and stuff like that. And for me, it was definitely the Beastie Boys and Cypress Hill that made the bridge into hip hop. It went from listening to the Beastie Boys to then listening to the Far Side, and then it's Tribe and De La and blah blah blah. And it's like, and I really remember like the Main Ingredient album, like
Pete Rock and Steel Smooth.
Yeah, like listening to every scratch on that album, which was all on Biz Markie.
Oh, Biz Markie. All just rhyming with Biz.
Yeah. And trying to learn all those cuts. And then, KRS's Return of the Boom Bap. Like, that's when I really fell in love with hip hop, is 94. That's just my age group. And then, of course, I had to do my research and learn about, everything before
Message. Of course, you had to do your research,
of course,
and go back and learn.
I had to know every Run DMC record as if I was, as if I actually remembered when they came out. Of course, I was too young when they came out, but I just had to know them.
Now, I want to know if you can make me feel better, because I did a lot of research.
There's many ways.
I did a lot of research. And I think I did a pretty good job. However, there are nights when I see Flex either on the radio or on Instagram, and he is posting records that I have no fucking clue about.
I like when Flex posts the salad aisle on Instagram personally. Can I just say? But using the same like mean talking about
or Mr. Chow's or whatever.
Talking about kale.
But sorry, so yeah, Flex posts records that you don't
that blow my mind, that I don't know at all.
No,
like
same
early
here.
80s random hip hop records that I do not know, independent stuff from 1982 that I just don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, of course, and same with Primo. Sometimes, have you ever seen Premier do one of the sets where he'll just go back into like history and just like talk through it?
Mm-hmm.
Like I love when Fat Beats closed down. Fat Beats, by the way, was a big part of my upbringing.
Talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, Fat Beats Records, obviously the shop and even distribution. I had another record label before Fool's Gold called Audio Research that my brother and I ran from Montreal, and we got distribution through Fat Beats.
First time I ever knew anything about him was when I had a record on that label called Obscure Disorder.
Obscure Disorder,
right?
thank you. Yeah,
indie shit, college radio.
Yeah,
days.
we were making records with Nonfiction out of New York, and I used to come to coming to New York, going to Fat Beats, and basically getting sunned by the guys at the cash register.
Of course,
like
that was part of the experience.
What the fuck are you here for, you little fucker?
It's amazing. And when Fat Beats closed down, I had the honor of performing, DJing at the shop, alongside like DJ Scratch and Premier and all these legends. And I remember Primo said very well, it was one of those like history lessons kind of sets, and he's just playing and grabbing the mic, like narrating basically, just being like, stuff like Mantronics, for example, and just telling you why it was dope and everything, and playing like Ramel Z and shit like that. So ill to me.
I have amazing footage of you from that day, by the way.
Oh,
that I shot with my 5D.
It's on
he
YouTube
bodied
too.
Naturally. His scratch was great.
And if you love history lessons like that, I suggest you listen to, I think it's the Christmas Day. We've done it like the last 3 or 4 years in a row where Flex and Red Alert get together on Christmas Day, and
Amazing.
they narrate what was going on in the clubs, what people were wearing, what cars they were driving, what
Yes.
songs were going,
good.
The
why
details,
why this song mattered in the moment, what exactly happened for this song to matter versus another song that came out at the same time, and like the whole thing. If you're into that sort of thing, I think Flex has it on his app.
I think they're online. You
Yeah.
can Google them.
Look, we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
I know we
I
have a
appreciate
lot.
you, by the way.
No, but I every time I see you, like when I saw you backstage at Wayne Drive, I was like, yo, you gotta come by, because obviously you have the event, and I'd love people to go experience that, because I do get a little preachy, and I know we get a little like, yo, kids, if you love hip hop, you would do your fucking research. You don't know about this, and a lot of them are like, yo, I just want to have my version of hip hop. Like, that was yours, I want to have mine. But I
Yeah.
think we get like that because that was a prerequisite, right? For you to participate in this culture, for you to DJ, for you to be on the radio, for you to do anything. The people who had those positions that you wanted required you to have knowledge of the stuff that happened before you. We now live in a time where there are no barriers to entry anymore, right? So I can sit in my bedroom, I can make something on my computer, I can put it up on YouTube, I can call it hip hop, my friends can love it, they'll share it, it'll start to blossom, and then I create a following, and all of a sudden I have a hit song on the radio, right? But there was no barrier, there was no one who made sure you did your research,
you were thorough,
and you were thorough with
Yeah.
it. Do you find for what you're doing, is that something that you and your colleagues in your circle find yourself sharing or wanting to share?
I mean, I just think both sides of it are great. I love the fact that a kid can just, download a cracked version of Fruity Loops and make a beat that sounds as good as what's on the radio and put the stuff on SoundCloud and have a following. I also believe that, like you said, you have to know the history too. That's part of the reason why I'm a fan of Danny Brown so much, and before even signing him, Danny Brown's, one of the marquee artists on Fool's Gold. He's performing at Day Off too. Danny knows his history more than anyone, and he knows other genres too. He's up on rock stuff that I don't even know sometimes, and I like rock, Yeah. Danny is a student of music. That's just an example of like one of these guys who sounds very new and different, and some of the traditional old heads might be a little scared of it, but there's dudes that that are pushing the boundaries and that know the history. And everything that you said about for those of you out there who like the stories of Flex and Red Alert and who was playing at the Tunnel that day and what color mink was Jadakiss wearing and all that stuff, my thing is I love that, and I also love all the new stuff. And I think there's a way to be a fan of the whole heritage of hip hop and this culture and everything that we love and cherish, but also understand that it doesn't necessarily have to stop at baggy jeans or what I mean. Like it doesn't have to stop.
You mean now that we don't wear pelly jackets anymore?
Exactly.
Well, listen, people get confused in how they describe what their love is, right?
Yeah, and then some people get too hung up with what real hip hop is.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's funny because then you go talk to Primo, and he loves like all the EDM stuff or whatever else. You know what I mean? Like the dudes that are supposed to be like the dudes that are actually.
But even Just Blaze, who
of course, and Just
plays
Blaze
tons of house music and EDM now.
Yeah, but Just Blaze is on Fool's Gold. He's finishing up a record for us. He's been playing our parties for like 4 years. But I knew for a fact before I even met him that Just used to play house music at roller rinks in New Jersey. It's all the same culture.
But a lot of people get confused because they go, "Oh, I love hip hop," and sometimes I have to correct people and go like, "No, you loved 80s and 90s hip hop.
Yeah,
you don't love it all."
Yeah.
Like, and there's a difference. We love it. We're doing it for life. I'm not going to grow out of it. Like the conversation we had on the air for fun today about Young Thug. But of course I can appreciate what's dope about Young Thug. So, but some people just go, I love hip hop. Some people love hip hop overall, and some people liked hip hop from 1986 to 1993. But be realistic with yourself.
Yeah, but Young Thug's the future. Like, if you think of how wild his voice sounds, when you hear stories about like the first time that Rakim he came out, people didn't want to sign him because he didn't have that hype voice. I'm sure he sounded crazy to those dudes too. I'm sure when someone heard Busta Rhymes for the first time, he sounded crazy too. Even Big had an unconventional voice, like
Hove. Look at Hove's voice.
Of course.
Look at Flex's voice. People used to make fun of Funkmaster Flex's voice.
Well, people still do.
But
it's different. That's just loving making fun.
But Young Thug is somebody that a lot of people like me, I'm like, what is he saying?
But you like
and because I'm an old man, I'm like, I don't have time to translate this man. Like,
it's more about flows with him, I think.
Yeah,
and the melody.
So.
And the melody.
Yeah.
But I found out today through translation and the young people around the radio station, he actually got some bars in there if you take a little time. And then we got sent another record.
Yeah, he says Hakuna Matata, I'm pretty sure. Hakuna Matata Batida Babada. But it's really dope.
Yo, but what's the record you played for me?
Treasure.
Shit's
hard.
Where he actually changes up his style on the second verse, and I can actually understand what he's speaking.
I mean, listen to All About the Money, the song with T.I.
And that one too.
That song's amazing.
Yeah, and even on Hookah, he's good. He's really good.
I just can't stand that record.
No, but here's the thing: you can laugh at the fact that it's
no, but I'm saying Thug is good. I'm saying like you can think what you want of this song, but Young Thug's verse is really good.
Right. Oh, got it.
That's
we can all laugh at a song being called "Pass Me the Hookah."
Yeah.
Hey guys, we'll see you all. We're all going to be there
Fool's
Monday.
Gold.
Fool's Gold Day off. Thank you, A-Trak.
Thank you so much.